Hello and welcome to our 25th edition of FSI Fridays. I'm Edwin, live in Boston, joined by
Johansson, live in Charlotte. Happy holidays, Edwin.
Happy Holidays, Johansson, and happy Friday, everyone. Congrats, we made it to a quarter. So what do we have lined up today?
Thanks, Edwin. So first, we'll be discussing what patterns and recent trends Microsoft is seeing in financial services from a data science machine learning perspective.
Second, financial customers have some strict requirements around AI. So we'll talk about cognitive and custom capabilities and how Microsoft can help operationalize models that help companies scale faster and more efficiently.
Third, we'll talk about some examples where customers have been extremely successful leveraging AI.
Then we'll wrap it up with Q&A.
Today on FSI Fridays.
For those of you watching live or on YouTube, as a quick reminder, we'll spend 30 minutes on today's topic and leave the last 10 minutes to address any burning questions.
So please use the Q&A window and we'll monitor for questions during the presentation. If you're watching the recording, feel free to use the comments below to ask your questions.
So let's get started and meet the presenters for today. Johansson, want to introduce our very special guest this week?
Thanks, Edwin. So we are honored to be joined by our guest today, Akiva Shumilov, Director of Cognitive Services AI at US Financial Services. Thanks for being on the show today. Can you let our audience know what your role is at Microsoft and what your typical day is like? Also, we hear you're from Long Island, New York, and you recently made some brilliant choices recently, which I'm jealous of, that helped you avoid the recent snowstorm up in the Northeast.
Yeah, thank you, Johansson. So, yeah, look, I'm from New York. I love New York. I've been there pretty much all my life. But because of COVID and the whole situation where you can't go out to restaurants and you have to be locked in the house, so I decided what better opportunity is it to go down to Florida for a few weeks. And let me tell you, I've been loving it. So look, so what's my role here at Microsoft? So I lead our cognitive AI practice for financial services. And what does that really mean? It means that I help our financial services customers implement AI solutions in their environment. And that could be helping them automate some back office task that's very repetitive and really strains their resources. Or it could be some AI product to help them improve the customer service that they provide their customers. Finally, what I would say is I also help bridge the discussions, if you will, between our product teams who develop these amazing AI products and our customers, so that there's the continual feedback loop between our customers and our product teams, and so that we can continually improve our products. So with that, I'll hand it back to you.
Hey, Akiva, that's awesome. I'm a fellow Long Islander, and I definitely miss the bagels and pizza. But so that's awesome. I'm also wondering if you have access to some data, AI science crystal ball that I need to get a hold of so I know when it's time to leave Boston. Our other guest is Charles Morris, Head of Enterprise Data Science. We hear you live in the town that was the birthplace of the National Guard, but it's actually known for something else.
Yeah, so I live in the Halloween capital of the world, Salem, Massachusetts. So it's a really cool place. People go really festive here and just a lot of fun stuff to do around this time of year. But yeah, now it's cold and snowing and I'm still just, here.
And what's your role at Microsoft, Charles?
Yeah, so I lead our enterprise data science team at Microsoft. And what that basically means is we saw there's this challenge for a lot of our customers to actually execute on their data science strategy. So my team actually comes in and helps our customers actually directly in their environments build things and build machine learning models and other sorts of things like that.
Thanks for sharing, Charles. Sounds really exciting. So can you tell our audience where Microsoft is leveraging AI today and what does it actually mean for our financial services customers?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, Microsoft uses AI pretty much everywhere in our own products. Microsoft is built on Azure, right? So when you're using Teams or PowerPoint, those are all running on Azure, and those are using Azure Cognitive Services. Or if you use an example like Xbox, they're using some of our cognitive services to deliver personalization, right? So what we've realized is like a lot of these models, they're incredibly investment heavy, that you actually need to build these massive models, and it takes a lot of time and researchers. So we realized we can actually commodify a lot of this tech and make it available for our customers. And that's what Akiva and I do, is specifically for financial services, is we figure out how to bridge the gap between what our customers want to do and how to use technology and data science to be able to actually pull that off.
Yeah, we know, Charles, that our FSI customers have really hard requirements and they have regulations. So they need to deal with responsible AI and providing services to their customers. So, for example, when leveraging AI, it's not like making a recommendation on an e-commerce website where if you make the wrong recommendation, someone doesn't buy the product. We're talking about potentially giving people a credit card or a mortgage or a loan, which could be really life-changing. How are we helping our FSI customers ensure that responsibility is baked into the AI process?
Yeah, so you really hit the nail on the head. Is, in financial services, the requirements are just so much higher from a number of perspectives. One is there's more regulations, there's stricter compliance regimes, and then the enterprise requirements in terms of like making sure it fits with your network and security and making sure only the right people have access to data is all a major challenge for our customers today. And that's really where we actually are taking that as like our priority to figure out how to actually bridge these gaps, how to build models and using some of the responsible AI, and also implementing ML ops in the customer environment so that they're able to scale their machine learning from maybe half a dozen models all the way up to hundreds or thousands of models across their enterprise.
Thanks, Charles. So speaking of these kind of models, and maybe even these pre-built models, we have a long list of cognitive services that Microsoft has built to really help give apps that human side effect. So Akiva, can you lay the foundation here for our audience in terms of what cognitive services Microsoft has today in these pre-built models?
Sure. So look, I think, Johansson, if you look at this slide here, we typically break it down into 4 buckets or 4 verticals, if you will. So we built these models so that our customers don't have to go and build them, right? So whether you're talking about vision or you're talking about speech or language or search, we have these models in there that do specific tasks. So if you're looking for vision and you want to use face detection, right, so that you can log in, or for face authorization, you don't want a customer to go out and have to build that. So we provide these as pre-built applications. Similarly with speech, right? So obviously speech to text, so you say something and then it translates it into text for you, and vice versa. Or you type in some text and then the system will speak something out. These are very, very hard things for customers to implement and build on their own. So we've made it easy for them to leverage these pre-built models just by simply going into Azure and creating the service. And then we provide you with keys and a URL, and boom, you're off to send your REST API, and then you can start accessing these services. Similarly, with language, text analytics, maybe a customer has these articles or news articles or anything like that, and they want to find out what are the key words, what are the key topics being discussed in these articles, so they can use our language models to do that, and so on and so forth. So kind of in summary, what I would say is we build these services to make it easier for our customers to start using AI.
No, that's great, Akiva. I love making sure that we're helping customers build on top of the great work we're already doing. So let's make it real. You work with a variety of different financial services customers. One that's very common for our customers is call centers. Akiva, can you share an example of customers you've worked with that leverage cognitive services? Also, we have a question here from Heather B that's related. Are there any use cases that can speak specifically about a customer you've helped automate? So thanks, Heather, for that question. We're leading right to it.
Terrific, absolutely. So look, typically the pattern that we're seeing, and again, a very strong pattern in financial services, is around our speech to text, right? Our large insurers or investment banks, what they want to do is they want to automate their call centers and use AI to take the calls that they are recording and analyze them. So typically, if you call your insurer, whatever it is, and you ask them, they will tell you, look, for quality purposes, we are recording this call. So, but what does that really mean, right? So does that mean that at the end of the day, they're going to go through these 50,000 calls that they receive, and they're going to go one by one and start listening to them and see whether or not their agents did a good job and, kind of collate all this information. Why are customers calling us? They're not going to do that because they can't. It's just overwhelming when you have 50,000 or 100,000 calls a day. So what we do is we use our cognitive AI, our speech to text models, to not only transcribe the speech into text, but some of the other things we'll do is we'll also, while we're doing that transcription, we'll also determine sentiment. Is the customer saying things that they're happy about our products, or they're really upset with us, right? So we aggregate all this information. We also use our speech to text models to separate out what the customer is saying and what our agent is saying, right? So that we can analyze the text differently. Because there are times when you want to see why the customers are calling, but there's also times when you want to really analyze your agents. Are our agents helping the customers properly? Are they doing a good job with the customer and making sure that they satisfy their requirements? Are the agents saying some things for compliance, like our products are FDIC insured, right? And if they don't say these things, then that could be serious penalties for the banks themselves.
Thanks for sharing those examples around call center modernization. I think those are really powerful, Akiva. For those in the audience that want to hear more about this, we actually did an FSI Friday session that leveraged AI in a call center. So definitely check that out. It's episode number 9 on our YouTube channel. There's a really cool demo that actually ties together everything that Akiva just talked about in terms of how you can take that speech from a call and then apply some sentiment analysis. Now, Akiva, you briefly mentioned using cognitive AI in forms. We know a lot of financial services companies, especially insurance companies, get millions of forms per month, perhaps for a loan or for an insurance claim, or even going through their internal processes. Someone has to historically go in and manually read that form and then key in the information back into a back office system. How can we use AI, Akiva, to really automate this process? I'm thinking, I'm applying for a mortgage and I'm uploading all of my docs. How can AI automatically take that information without someone having to look at it and maybe give some responses out of that? So want to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're spot on. Our customers, whether it's in the insurance business or whether it's in the banking business, they receive millions of forms per month. And again, it's overwhelming. And just imagine, like you said before, right? You have to look at this form and you have to kind of type it in and then make sure you're not making mistakes. And it's just too much. There's too many of these documents that they receive. And it could be a loan application, but it could be an insurance claim, or it could be a change of address form, right? So there are hundreds, and sometimes there are even thousands of different types of forms. So this is yet a clear pattern where they're looking to automate this somehow. And so we at Microsoft have built not an OCR engine, it's built on top of an OCR engine, but we call it the forms recognizer. And basically what that does is not only does it extract the information that's on a form, but it'll also put it in the appropriate buckets. So this is the social security number, and this is the value of it. This is the address, this is the person's address. This is their phone number, right? So it takes the key value pairs, and not only does it do it for printed text, but it also does it for handwritten text as well. So they're really getting tremendous value out of our Forms Recognizer product. So look, I will tell you that this AI revolution is really taking off, and I see our customers asking for these types of products, in an exponential way. So I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, Charles, I mean, it's really exciting to hear how cognitive services can provide so much great value and get more people to be more productive, right? All the stuff happening in the background. But of course, organizations are going to need to build custom machine learning models, and that could be a huge challenge. So Charles, how is it that Microsoft is making it easier for our customers to do that?
Yeah, so you really hit the nail on the head. And part of the reason we named this team the Enterprise Data Science Team is because we have a deep conviction that data science isn't just a tool you adopt, right? It really is a new way of approaching problems. So every company right now is needing to learn how to make data science a core competency, right? So that's where we're trying to help. And we do that in two ways. One is in our products, right? So we try to be as non-opinionated as possible about how our products are used, because we know our customers have different requirements, different environments. Data scientists use different languages, different frameworks, from PyTorch and TensorFlow, scikit-learn. So really what we're trying to do is make it easier for our customers to actually create these models, by making it easy to bring all the tools they have to bear in a really well-governed way. But then on top of that is, okay, great. People are learning the hard way that it's not enough to just build models that hit some accuracy metric. You need to actually be able to put those in production and maintain them, and they need to integrate into a business process. So you're actually changing how decisions are getting made in your organization. And that's where, we're really building out, like, kind of leading class ML ops capabilities. And, honestly, not everything has been solved in here, but we're making some great progress. And then the last piece is really, we want to make sure that as organizations are building models, they're able to do so responsibly without adding a huge amount of overhead. So everything from introducing interpretability and fairness, all the way down to knowing the data governance and lineage and how your models got built and who built them and what assumptions went into them. These are all the ways that our product stack, particularly in Azure ML, are making it easier for data science teams to really be able to actually do this. Now, it's still not easy, and that's where my team comes in, is because we can help teams work on that as well.
Thanks, Charles. For those of you that want to go deeper a little bit more on the responsible AI, we also actually did an episode number 11 where we dive deeper into that topic. But speaking of previous topics, last week on our GitHub session, Isaac Cohen shared about his perspectives running a DevOps org at an FSI company and how a big challenge it was to make DevOps really work. Specifically, you need to get multiple pieces of an organization working together, whether it be the engineers, business stakeholders, IT, or DevOps. I would imagine that applies here for AI solutions to really work. And I think, Charles, you talked about that a little bit. Can you talk to us about this need from both technology and cultural perspectives and how we're helping our financial services customers define that strategy and provide the tools that make it easier for them to be successful as it relates to this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have worked with both Isaac and David Teak on just this problem of how do you get data scientists to use Git, right? Because that problem you mentioned in the DevOps world of you need so many parts together, raise that to the 10th power when you're working on data science teams, right? You need data scientists, ML engineers, data engineers, you need the business, you need DevOps teams. And if any one of these things is not in place, your model's either a risky model or it's just not going to get you the value you want, right? So from that perspective, we're really looking at how do we actually orient data science teams around this holistic approach and using some of the emerging MLOps trends, adopting GitHub and some of the things we have built into Azure ML as well. But it is a big challenge for people. And like you mentioned, I love that you said it. Culturally, this is a big issue as well, because one of the biggest challenges I see when firms are starting to adopt data science is you can't know the outcome in advance. You have to change your mindset of saying, how long is this project going to take, to evaluating what is the speed of my experimentation process? Where are the bottlenecks in my process? Because the best you can do is get a high experiment rate and hope that more of those experiments are successful. But if you knew the outcome in advance, it wouldn't be data science. You could just code it up in an app. So that's really where shifting that mindset to experimental and identifying where are the bottlenecks and barriers to successful experimentation. And then once you have that in place, then you can switch to engineering mode and say, now how do I take what I built and actually deploy it? And that's where the ML ops piece comes in as well. So it is a big challenge, and everyone needs to be at the table. I always say data science is a team sport, because if you really want to get value out of data science, it needs to actually become an integral part of your business process.
Yeah, Charles, you nailed it, right? So speed and quality are always focused outcomes, but it takes a team collaborating with that cultural shift to make it happen. And if we're taking that to the next level, you said, it goes to engineering. Microsoft offers tools all throughout the stack: cognitive services, Power BI, Azure machine learning for customs, Synapse and analytics. But there's a lot of moving parts. So Charles, how do we actually help our customers navigate this once they get that cultural aspect in place?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of back to what I said and what you just pointed out, is there are so many moving parts, and it kind of has to be that way because data science obviously starts with your data estate, right? and then you build a machine learning model, but where does that go, right? That either goes back into a report or an app, or it could go into, it has to be consumed by some process, right? So there's an engineering component as well. And of course, if your decisions that you're making aren't aligned to your business process, right? So there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of services. So really what we try to do with our teams is we say, hey, we have this enterprise data science program. And for some of our, more strategic financial services customers, we'll actually go in there and get a Microsoft data scientist to actually go work in their environment on their data with them for a period of 8 to 12 weeks and actually do one of their projects that they're trying to execute on. And in doing so, we're showing them rather than telling them, okay, here's how here's how you use GitHub for this, and here's how you monitor your models. So we'll be building things with them in their environment with their teams, and they're learning the best practices as they go. So that's something that we decided was a direct investment, because the biggest barrier wasn't the tools in Azure. The tools in Azure are second to none. It was really that firms are struggling to put it all together from their own data science capabilities. So we realized if we can help them do that and move them along, we're just going to help them increase their tech intensity and digital transformation. And it's going to be a benefit for everybody.
Thanks, Charles. That sounds so great. I think we made this comment earlier that Microsoft is really a productivity company, and we're taking kind of these world-class tools and stitching them all together to help give our customers kind of that full toolkit to be able to transform. We even just recently announced Azure Purview, which allows that kind of data catalog and also allows the ability to do data governance. So for our financial services customers, that's a great asset that can really be leveraged here. So I want to take this a little bit further. Can you talk to us a little bit more around maybe where we've done this already with some of our customers? And I think you've got an example here to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've done this with many of our customers, and some of our customers prefer to remain unnamed, and because the things they're working on are very strategic. So, we do work on projects that no one else knows about as well. But one of our customers, they actually incorporated a project that we did into one of their products. So they're very happy to talk about it. So Milliman is an insurance ISV, and they have a SaaS offering called Arius that helps with claims reserving. So we worked with them over a period of this engagement, and we built some machine learning models that will ingest all of the claims data from one of their clients, and basically predict and give their client an estimate every year for 5 years out how much in claims they should set aside for that particular. I think in this case it was property and casualty insurance, and how much they need to hold in reserves for every year out. And we were able to work with their actuarial team. So we actually have the best of both worlds, where we have the machine learning approach combined with the actuarial approach to be able to give people both lenses and really have some digital transformation there. So Milliman has been a great partner in this program, and that was a really novel use case. But of course, with our customers, they know their use case is best. And really what we're looking for is, if you have a problem that you think can be solved by data science, and you have the data that you think can be used to solve it, we're happy to have a conversation and potentially help actually execute and work on that project.
Yeah, Charles, that's a really exciting partnership, and thanks for sharing that. I'm sure there are more examples of really cool work going on. And by the way, we want to thank the audience so far. We've changed our look, if you've noticed, and there's a lot of positive comments coming in around it. So thanks for bearing with us. And at the same time, feel free to use the Q&A not only for the positive comments but also for questions. So Akiva and Charles, what is the call to action for our audience and some good resources with which to follow up? We did just post the Milliman case study link here, but Akiva, I think you have a blog post you could speak to, and then Charles, you can talk about the Microsoft AI platform site.
Absolutely. So look, I recently published a Microsoft blog that talks about how our financial services customers are getting into AI. A lot of times we see that they don't know where to start. Right. So in this article specifically, what I talk about is how we get them started. What are things they should think about, how they could leverage our pre-built models rather than having to build a huge data science team. Right. So, and I go in through the details of how we implement these solutions at our customer sites. And Charles, on yours?
Yeah, so one great place to start if you're just looking at kind of what are the tools that Microsoft has to offer is this AI platform site. And it does a really great job at just kind of a high level, talking through a lot of these components and services that we used. So I recommend everybody check that out just to get an idea. To Akiva's point, if you have a data science team, using some of the pre-built things can free them up. And we've actually seen that in our customers too, where I'll initially engage on a custom project with them. We'll realize that Akiva could actually help them on the cognitive side. And then we'll actually spin up a separate new custom project that was open because we realized we could use these pre-built services. So I guess the real call to action as well is, reach out to your Microsoft team. They know how to get in touch with Akiva and I. And if there's an appropriate use case where, we can talk to you and help you through your AI, they could potentially put us in touch. So, definitely we're really looking forward to this upcoming year. The digital transformation, AI adoption in financial services is really, I think, at an inflection point. Companies have gotten over a lot of the barriers that have traditionally existed, and now they're really just starting to adopt things wholesale, and I'm really excited about it.
I couldn't agree more, Charles. I think there's just plenty of opportunity with all this data in the world in terms of how we can actually help our customers, and our customers can help themselves in leveraging that data to really transform. So Akiva and Charles, thank you for sharing your helpful perspectives and insights on the possibilities to accelerate data science and AI in financial services.
That's right, Johansson. So what we learned today is FSI companies have some of the most rigorous requirements for data and AI. And innovation is happening in AI to relieve many common pain points, for example, with the forms or call centers, as Microsoft is committed to helping our customers build models faster using responsible AI and helping them employ machine learning and cognitive services in their life cycle in scalable ways by commodifying this technology so our financial services customers don't need to go out and build everything from scratch.
We also heard how Microsoft works with partners. Milliman is a great example where we partner together to build machine learning models that provide extremely useful insight to accelerate their business and customer engagement and experiences.
We hope this conversation has sparked an idea or inspired you today. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to your Microsoft account teams to schedule an envisioning session. Johansson, let's move on to Q&A. What are some of our viewers asking?
Thanks, Edwin. So we've got a question in here from Anonymous. How should I be thinking about auto ML, and maybe even define what that means? Do I not need a data scientist anymore, or is this some latest hype that's going around?
So I'll take that. Auto ML is going to be an important technology, but by no means should you be confused that it means that data scientists aren't going to be necessary anymore. Really, what I see it as is a way for data scientists to work faster. Because rather than having to spend a week kind of, tuning hyperparameters and tweaking models, they can get to a working model pretty quickly. So I see it more as a complement, but you're always going to need data scientists to actually help you discover what those problems are, how to frame that in terms of finding a target that's actually useful and actionable, and then actually going through this process. So AutoML is going to be a great tool, and I think it's going to boost productivity for data scientists. But, and perhaps I'm biased as a data scientist, I don't see it anytime soon as being a replacement for having a good data science team.
All right. No, thanks for sharing that. I just have a random comment from Anonymous. Salem's Lot, just I guess because, where you're from, Charles, or where you live. And I'm a huge horror fan, so thanks for sharing that, Anonymous. I think this might be either for you, Charles, or Akiva. You could let me know. We have a comment from Anonymous. There's many different speech models. How does Microsoft differentiate versus other solutions?
Yeah, so I'll take that one, Charles. Look, I think that when you evaluate a speech-to-text product, the key is to see what the word error rate is, because if you are speaking something and then the translation is only 50% accurate, then it's like kind of garbage in, garbage out. You really can't do much with that. And some of the older technologies were about 50% accurate. Nowadays, we're really able to get that close to about 80+% with accuracy. And then we can build on top of that a customized model specific to the company's domain, and then add maybe another 10%. So we're getting close to the 90%, and a human could only maybe understand about 95% of what is being said. So our technology is really, really good. I think the second thing is that I would talk about is we have the ability to take these transcriptions and go directly into a SQL database where our customers can then leverage our products like Power BI, and then they could go in and run analytics on the text. Because like I said earlier, if you have 50,000 calls a day, it's hard to grasp and try to understand what's happening. But if you put that information into a data store or a data lake, and then you run something like Power BI and generate some kind of analytics or word cloud, you could find out, you could start to see patterns, things that you've never seen before. So these are the capabilities that we offer in our product.
Thanks, Akiva. We've got another question in here. This one's coming from Anonymous as well. Our CISO would never allow us to send speech or account information to the cloud. What options does Microsoft have to maybe take the capabilities in the cloud and maybe allow them to deploy that stuff in their on-premises environment? I think we've addressed this in a previous FSI Friday session, but would love to hear your perspectives. Who wants to take it?
Yeah, I'll take that one as well, because this really relates to our cognitive services, and really what our products team have done is really revolutionary. They've given they've provided a way for our customers to download the software that we have in Azure Cloud and put it on premise as a container, and yet it builds Azure. So just imagine this way, our customers, let's say if they have some recordings that have credit card information, or they have very confidential information like passwords, or something that the CISO is very concerned about leaving the perimeter, right? Then our customers, especially in financial services, have the option to run our AI software on premise, which is billable yet through Azure. And it's really revolutionary the way we've done that.
Absolutely. And it's funny, Clive, you asked the same question. Just want to call that out about the whole security thing. But it looks like we're out of time. And thanks, Clive. Thanks for attending via YouTube or watching live and asking questions. If you haven't already, please be sure to register for FSI notifications and invites by visiting aka.ms/FSI Fridays.
We're also open to constructive feedback, so please send us your comments and suggestions at aka.ms/FSI Fridays feedback. Be sure to watch and catch all of our previous sessions on FSI Fridays YouTube channel at aka.ms/FSI Fridays recap, where you can also post any follow-up questions that weren't covered today.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like it as well.
So Edwin, we have an awesome lineup for the rest of December. We just wrapped it up. Why don't you tell us what's happening in January as we start the new year and give us a preview?
Yeah, absolutely. So exciting. So on January 8th, we're going to join Raga Kohli and Peter Goff on modernizing business processes with Power Platform.
And then on January 15th, Rode Kitty and Alexa Sherberg, chief technical architects from our Microsoft Technology Center, will be discussing how to modernize data governance.
And on January 22, we have a very special guest, Bill Borden, Corporate Vice President of Worldwide Financial Services.
You won't want to miss it.
That's right, Johansson.
Happy holidays.
And see you in 2021
on FSI Fridays.